Hey, it's Chris. Now, the other day on Twitter, I put out a call and I said, let me know what you guys didn't get at WWDC that you really wanted. And I know I had my own list. So I think there's really gonna be three sections of this video. iPad disappointments, because there were a lot of complaints about stuff that wasn't announced for iPads this year from you guys. Also, hardware stuff that didn't get announced that you were hoping would be announced, even though this is a software-focused conference, but oftentimes we do get some hardware announcements. And then number three, just other stuff. So I kicked the discussion off by saying that we didn't get proper external display support for the iPad, which is one thing I really was hoping was gonna come to WWDC this year. The iPad and the Mac in many ways seem to be on a collision course, these two devices. The thing is, the iPad is still limited by several factors. One of those factors, a major factor, is not being able to just plug this in with this USB port, right? So just like on my Mac, I wanna be able to plug this in to an external monitor and have something happening here and something else happening there. Now, true, I can use my iPad as a second display for my Mac, but I wanna kick multitasking on the iPad into high gear by doing what I do on my Mac. So I wanna be able to have a web browser open on my iPad and then up on a display, be able to have a note on one side, maybe another note on the other. It needs to happen, because it's one thing that's really holding this device back. Something else that bugged you guys that we didn't get this year that I can't believe that we didn't get was multi-user support for iPads. Right now, as it stands, you basically have to have a separate iPad for every member of your family. And for some people that works. Right now, I got an iPad here, an iPad mini there, and an iPad Pro there. I got 3 iPads within like 2 feet. But I'm a tech reviewer. I'm not the average person, right? And so what you wanna be able to do is have an iPad for your whole family that people can log into and out of and change all the different preferences and apps. I mean, especially if you're a parent and you wanna limit access to gaming and entertainment and who knows what all else, you have to have a multi-user experience. This is something that has to come, and it has to come sooner than later. People have been expecting this forever. So Craig, if you're listening, we need multi-user iPad OS support. ASAP. All right, now something else that we didn't get that a lot of people were disappointed about, and this includes me, was Final Cut Pro, or just Pro apps in general, Logic Pro included, for the iPad this year. There's just certain things with Final Cut Pro that I can't get elsewhere. I've talked about them a lot before. Things like optical flow, things like basic stabilization that aren't available in any other app that I know of yet for the iPad. Now it's true, we do have LumaFusion, and LumaFusion does a lot. In fact, it's pretty amazing, all the things that LumaFusion can do on the iPad. And one of the things that I really like about LumaFusion is that I can start a project here and export the XML over to Final Cut on my Mac, and so start it in one place, finish it in the other. That's great. But personally, I'm just really used to Final Cut Pro. And if you're into music, then you really probably are used to Logic and the way that Logic Pro works. And once you get ingrained in that ecosystem and you learn all the plugins and you rely on all those plugins, then nothing else is ever gonna be quite the same. Which brings us to Xcode. That's something else that you guys kind of complained about, saying we wish that we had gotten Xcode. That was something that had been talked about this year. And probably just practically no Xcode, no Final Cut, and no Logic. That's probably just the way it works. Now we do have pretty decent multitasking on iPads already, but something that I was hoping for again, and that I heard a lot of you echoing as well, was that you wanted some extra tweak or new functionality added to the way multitasking works on an iPad. Now look, I got WWDC's keynote running here as a picture-in-picture window, and that's really great. I can slide all over, so I can do a lot with that. And I've got slide over here where I can see my music and Twitter and messages, and I can put it off the screen really easily. I got 2 windows operating here. So what else do I need? What else do I want? Well, something I've wanted for a long time is, instead of having 2 windows on the screen at once, is to have 3. 1, 2, 3, almost like phone with columns on the screen. And then with the iPad's ability to drag and drop stuff all over the place, that would let me really create some killer workflows without having to rely on slide over for so much of the time. And you know what? Slide over with the trackpad is great. I mean, I can get a lot done with it, and it's fun to swipe through things for sure. It's definitely better than the way things used to be. iPads have come a long way over the last several years, but still. So the iMac. It's been the same design for several years, and the rumors really got people hyped up this year for an iPad Pro-like iMac redesign. So here's a picture of the iMac as we know it right now. Pretty big, thick, chunky bezels. Not bad looking. I mean, it still looks nice. It's just getting old. And then you can see here is an iPad Pro, which has much thinner bezels. So can you imagine a screen that's basically like a 27 or 32 inch iPad Pro looking screen, but with the capabilities and power of a Mac? That's what we're talking about here. And that's why people got so excited and then disappointed when there wasn't a one more thing. The thing is, with the transition from Intel to ARM, people were saying this is a perfect opportunity for Apple to debut some new Mac hardware. And why not, while we're at it, make it a new iMac? So, this would have been amazing. I'm there. I agree with you guys. One other product that didn't see the light of day at WWDC was AirPods Studio. These are the AirPods that are like AirPods Pros mixed with Beats Solo Pros. I have the Beats Solo Pros and I like them a lot, but if there was an Apple version that brought everything that's amazing about AirPod Pros to an over-ear form factor, that'd be pretty great. One really exciting thing that did debut for AirPods Pros at WWDC was that new spatially aware surround sound. Now, can you imagine that coming to a Beats Solo Pro-like AirPods Studio over-ear form factor? The second that AirPods Studios debut and have an amazing design and have all the features of the AirPod Pros and then maybe something extra, they're gonna sell out like crazy. People definitely want the AirPod Studios. All right, you know, the HomePod wasn't totally left out of WWDC. It was mentioned in the form of being able to speak to you to let you know who is at your front door because of HomeKit's ability to now recognize faces of people standing on your porch. And the HomePod, honestly, I think it's been kind of a sleeper product for Apple. The people that have them love them. I have one. I love it. I want to get more HomePods. But at the same time, it hasn't been a huge seller in the way that AirPods have been a huge seller for Apple. But something that Apple could probably do to fix that would be to create a HomePod Mini, which is another device that's been hotly rumored in the last several months. And honestly, I've used a bunch of portable speakers like the Wonder Boom from Ultimate Ears, and to tell you the truth, they're getting really good. And I can only imagine what a smaller HomePod would sound like and look like. I think it would be truly amazing. And I think that would take the HomePod to the next level in terms of sales and desire and people wanting one. And not just wanting one, but actually being able to afford it too, you know? Because right now, the big full-size HomePod, its worst feature might be its pricing. It starts at $299. And honestly, that is expensive in this segment. It's not as expensive as a DVLA, but if you compare it to speakers from Google and from Amazon that have smarts built in, yeah, that's expensive. But on the other hand, do I love it? Do I use it basically every day? Yeah. Does my family love it and use it every day? Yeah. But do we just need a cheaper version? Yeah. Now think about the iPad and iPhone lineup. With the iPhone, we just got a budget iPhone, the iPhone SE. And with the iPad lineup, we have several different iPads at several different starting points. You have an iPad Air, and it goes all the way up to the iPad Pro lineup. I think it just really makes sense for Apple to come out with a HomePod Lite or a HomePod Air. Another hardware-related thing that we didn't get at WWDC was AirPower. Now, AirPower, you might be like, I thought that died a long time ago. And yeah, as far as we knew, it did. And then in the last couple weeks, some AirPower revival rumors cropped up, and people started getting all excited about it again. Honestly, I don't know why. The idea of the AirPower mat as visualized here, it doesn't excite me at all. The last thing that we didn't get this year with hardware is AirTags, which is the Apple Tile-like trackers that will let you find your stuff all over the place. Now, here's an interesting thing that you guys said you were disappointed about. That was the lack of a hardware subscription service. Whoa, that's interesting. Apple's been getting into services. Apple Arcade is a big deal, right? Apple Music, iCloud even. People are paying for all kinds of Apple services. So why not turn your hardware into a subscription service as well? But what if Apple just came out with a bundle where it's like this much per month for an iPhone, AirPods, and all the Apple services, just unlimited Apple services? Would that be tempting? Or if you had a Mac bundle or an iPad bundle and basically everything Apple offers is just bundled up into a service. All right, we got a lot with iOS 14. We have widgets now. We have an app library that automatically categorizes stuff. So as long as Apple is validating a few things that Android has done, but is doing them in a different way, why not also validate split screen on an iPhone? This is something that people have been waiting for and looking for years, and somebody, of course, brought it up when I asked you guys that this wasn't announced, but they wish that it had been. All right, so that's gonna wrap it up for this kind of crowdsourced video. It was kind of fun interacting. I asked a question, you guys came on and you were like, here's the answer, and then we discussed it. You guys know the drill already. If you haven't checked out applehype.com, today is a great day. Also, you can check out the After Party, that's our podcast every Friday, and check me out on Twitter and Instagram so that we can interact in these kind of videos. I'm at Daily Tech, spelled Daily Tekk in both of those places, and I'll catch you in the next video. Later.